Let's go now to Senate estimates today, where an entity called Studio Schools of Australia, it's an educational charity, was under fire. Here is why. Over the past 3 years, taxpayers have given the charity $16 million to cover administration costs. So administration costs, $16 million. Despite the failure to deliver 2 of the 3 new schools it won a contract to build. Meanwhile, its chief executive, a woman called Helen Drennan, and one other executive shared $815,000 in salary over 18 months. Now, that's equivalent to around $600,000 per annum. Per annum. See why we need an audit of every dollar we spend in the Aboriginal industry. The Shadow Minister for Education, Sarah Henderson, joins me now, who was asking the tough questions today in estimates. I think I might even have a grab. You put some questions to the department officials who should have the answers, but they didn't. Let's have a listen.
Can you tell me what the annual salary is of the CEO, Helen Drennan?
We have written to Studio Schools seeking information in relation to that question yourself. They don't provide that to us. They're not required to provide that to us.
Have you tried to make a phone call or ask any further information about it?
I haven't done that, Senator. I wouldn't normally ring individual schools and seek information on the salary of their staff.
My understanding is that the CEO was travelling from her home in Queensland to Broome and then flying by charter from Broome to the Kimberley. So do you have any information in relation to those sorts of costs?
No, Senator. I'm very happy if you've got information you wish to share with us in relation to any of those particular points. Very happy to take those. But we have, as I mentioned, we have written to the approved authority asking for detailed information in relation to their financial accounts, and so we'll receive that in the next several weeks.
Sarah Henderson, you've been around government as long as I have. I have never seen such a lack of oversight of spending like that. The failure to acquit those grants, we're talking literally of $16 million plus. Were you staggered by what you heard? Because I certainly am.
Well, absolutely, Peter, and good evening. Great to join you. I first was alerted to some deep concerns with Studio Schools and the Albanese government's failure to manage the delivery of Indigenous boarding schools when they cut 2 schools from the May budget. So we provided $75 million to deliver 4 schools, 3 new schools and 1 upgraded school. And suddenly 2 of those new schools were cut completely in East Arnhem Land and also the Pilbara. But there was $16 million allocated for operational costs, which seemed extraordinary. And then questions on notice, we discovered that the costs had gone up for the 2 schools that had been axed from $44 million to $120 million. Now, if I was the minister, I'd be saying, what is going on here? And scrutinising those costs, it just seems unbelievable, no credibility. Why can't this organisation deliver these boarding schools on time and within a reasonable budget? And then, of course, we saw in the financial statements made public in June, which the department and the minister did not seem to know about, that the chief executive officer and the chief operating officer were being paid a combined total of $600,000 per annum, while other teachers were being paid very mediocre salaries. And these are in some of the most impoverished parts of the country. Sorry, I've got a bit of a problem with my earpiece. So it's just defies belief. But when I looked at this, Peter, the red flags went up left, right and centre, and this minister did absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. I mean, that $600K for a teacher or an executive at the school, that's more than the Prime Minister earns. That's the first point. Who hires anyone to fly them from Queensland across to Broome and then a private charter in and out of school? I mean, that's one hell of a taxpayer-funded commute. But then more broadly, if you're talking about 2 schools costing from about $50-odd million blowing out to 120, $60 million per school. I mean, $60 million per school. Roughly how many children are in these schools? They're not big numbers, as I understand.
No, there's 78. They accommodate 78 children per school. So the minister didn't say, well, hang on a minute, let's look at Let's look at other forms of construction. Let's look at prefabricated construction. Let's look at how we can get these schools into the Pilbara, into East Arnhem Land, rather than just cutting the schools and then delivering $16 million to studio schools for operational costs, not scrutinising their expenditure. And I've now asked questions about the charter flights, about upgrades, about I've been told that in excess of $60,000 has been spent on an ensuite or an indoor toilet. There's other very, very exorbitant operational costs being incurred. And the minister should have been all over this. Really, they've been missing in action. I called for a review. They've now, just today, an estimate said they will write to studio schools. But frankly, he's just not doing his job, Peter. That's the bottom line.
He absolutely is not. Sarah, keep it going, because this is exactly
Thanks, Peter.
why we need an audit.